Well, I've had a very strange and eclectic life, which has been in crazy, crazy adventures. Starting from the first day I came into this world, what happened was my mother was pregnant, and to cut some time in getting home for dinner, she took a shortcut through a vacant lot in Bath Beach, Brooklyn, where I come from. And if you know anything about vacant lots in Brooklyn, they're full of dangerous objects, and she tripped and fell down. And I was born prematurely at 4 pounds 3 ounces and dead. And my grandpa, who was a giant of a man and very tough, who had been a Cossack in the Russian army, burst into the delivery room and told the doctor to save me or he'd kill him. So the doctor dipped me in hot water, cold water, hot water, cold water. And I finally came awake at weight of 4 pounds 3 ounces and had to be put in an incubator because in those days the technology was not that good. So I never reached the height of the rest of my family, who were all pretty big. And I only got up to 5'8", but I did get the muscles eventually. But Bath Beach, Brooklyn was a place where only the strong survive and the weak are killed then eaten. So I had to grow up in the streets and get really tough really quickly. And with a name like Harvey, it was like being a boy named Sue. And so I got very tough. And when I was 13 years old, my grandpa had taught me never run away from a problem, run at it. And some 17-year-old kid was teasing me down in the pool room, so I immediately picked up the cue ball and threw it in his face and knocked him unconscious. So his 20-year-old brother and his 20-year-old friend got a hold of me, and I was 13, I was in the 8th grade, and they put my head on the concrete and the gutter and jumped on it and broke most of the bones in my face. And a fellow was coming up the street and he saw these two grown men. I might have weighed 113, 115 at the time. And he came running over and chased them away, and he had been a bodybuilder. And he took me to Coney Island Hospital and insisted they help me. And I had to spend the whole summer of the 8th grade in bed, bandaged up. And my dad, who was a great expert on mythology, taught me about mythology and got a German textbook written in 1927 called Hennige's Physiology of Strength, and he translated it for me from the German, where I derived my training philosophy when I was bodybuilding and a gymnast. And I utilized that all the way through my whole career and still do. And it says that intensity is the key. It's a distance runner only runs 100 meters. I mean, a sprinter only runs 100 meters, but a distance runner runs 26 miles, but the sprinter has much better leg development because of the intensity, the amount he does in a given time. It's a formula. So by the time I graduated high school, I could bench press 355 pounds. And in true heroic, legendary form, I went after these two guys who had beaten me up and showed them I had changed. In any event, and my whole life was stimulated by women. My mother was very beautiful, and she actually won a best legs contest in 1934 and told me, remember, Harvey, a good pair of legs could last a woman 60 years. The other pieces, not so much. In any event, so I always believed in that. And I had this legendary mythos I built about myself. And I had this little thing going on in my head of being a mythological hero and fighting for truth and justice in the American way, as Superman did, which was never my favorite comic, but that's another story. And my dad, you know, he was very, very brilliant. We never had any money. He was just a school teacher, but very, very knowledgeable. And he taught me a lot and got me interested in movies, which eventually led me to acting and then directing and winning a few prizes. And my parents, it's an interesting story that I've never told. You know, my parents loved each other very much. When they were in their late 60s, they used to walk along holding hands. You know, they were the only ones they'd ever had, as was the want in those days. And their one exhibition to me of ever cheating on each other was with the movies. When I was 1 year old, my dad took me to see Gilda with Rita Hayworth, which was considered very risque, and he didn't tell my mother. It was like, ooh, he felt like he was cheating on her by going to see Gilda, because it was, very racy for that time. And then 1954, when I was 9 years old, my mother loved Brando, so she took me to see On the Waterfront. And so that was her little cheat. And that's the extent of the cheating they did on each other, which I think is kind of cute. And in Bath Beach, we had guys who, the heroes of the neighborhood. The best one we had was Jack the Ripper. And I had 5 friends: Charlie LaRocca, Cyril Riccardi, Roy DeMeo, and Jimmy Emma. They're all dead. All multiple murderers, went to the mob, which I never did. And but I was plenty tough and could beat the crap out of all of them if I needed to, because of all that working out I had done after I gotten beaten up so terribly. And I had a wonderful, wonderful girlfriend in high school, about whom I wrote my first script, named Linda, and she was half Irish and half Italian, and had the best pieces of both, and just beautiful beyond beautiful. She was like Natalie Wood, but better. And she died of an OD at age 17, and they found her under the Marine Park Bridge, half eaten by rats, which broke my heart. And I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and was looking at a painting called The Martyrdom of Saint Sebastian, of this beautiful saint tied to a tree with arrows shot into him by the Romans. And I said, that's how I feel, I said to myself. And behind me, this French voice says, "Oh, it can't be that bad." And I was really built and tattooed. And this French model said, "What's wrong?" Because I was teary, and I went to lunch with her and told her that my girlfriend had died. And she said, "Really?" And I told her about my neighborhood. So I had an old Harley at that time that I pieced together with spit and baling wire. And I rode her back to Bath Beach, and she looked around. She says, "This looks like Dresden after the bombing. Do you have a passport?" And I always had dreamt of getting out of there, so I had a passport, which I think at that time cost $15. And I had never been on an airplane in my life, and she took me to Paris the next day and put me up in the Salle de Bon, which is the little peaked roof on the top of a house, a maid's room. And I got to see Paris in the early 60s, 63 it was, and learned French and had a great, great time, and came back a lot more sophisticated and determined to get out of that Brooklyn and with all my might. And I remember, I have a great love of animals, and we lived in an apartment house where you weren't even allowed to have a pussycat. And when you're a kid, you watch TV, all the kids have pets. And my dad and I used to watch Tarzan movies on Sundays, the original Johnny Weissmuller, Maureen O'Sullivan. I think I had my first 6-year-old crush on Maureen O'Sullivan, who's Mia Farrow's mother. And anyway, and I swore if I ever got some money, I'd get myself some animals. And years later, when I had a little bit of success, I got my own lion and a bear and a chimp and a black leopard, and trained them all from little tiny cubs. And hopefully we'll have some pictures of those in here. And my ex-wife, who's died, I'm afraid, she won the swimsuit competition in the Miss America and several acting awards, including the NCAA College Theater Award with her boyfriend at the time, Ray Liotta, and as a college student. And so I've had a very strange and eclectic life with many adventures. I rode across country on a 1947 Harley Davidson twice. Had lots of adventures doing that, and always had a motorcycle for many years. But when they put the helmet law in, I quit. I didn't like that idea. And I had some crashes, and I got a few stitches in the head. But I still didn't believe in the helmet law. I think that should be personal choice. And what else can I say? I lived in Europe a while, directed a lot of commercials in Europe. I like it very much there. Paris for a long time, and in Italy for a while. Doing movies there, in Paris mostly commercials. And I'm just struggling along. My new book, Gray December, is a true story from my life, and has teardrops on the page, which you'll read in the preface. And just had a life that most men dream of.